We are very lucky to have Mr. Gray here with us today. I'm just going to give a little introduction so you know a little bit about Mr. Gray. Some of you already know, I think, quite a bit, but we'll share a little more information. Mr. Gray is a news anchor for WXXA Fox TV 23 and ABC's WTVN Channel 10. He's a columnist for the Troy Record, the Saratogian, and the Capital Region Living magazine. He was born and raised in Troy, New York, which isn't too far from here. From Schenectady, it's about a half an hour. He's won numerous awards over the course of his career, including an Emmy Award. He recently published a book, God Needed a Puppy, and Keller's Heart, which he's here to share with us today. Let's give a warm welcome to thank Mr. Gray for joining us at Howe Elementary School today.
Thank you so much. Good morning. How are you? This is like a secret school. You know, I used to live in this uni years ago, and I come down here all the time. In fact, Sunday I had breakfast with my kids. My kids are older than you, at the Brewers, which is right over here. And I've gotten food a bunch of times at Homestyle, which is over here. And a friend of mine owns the nail salon over here. And when I saw Howe Elementary, I'm like, where is that? And I said, how do I get there? And then I looked it up on the map and I said, oh, there's a school back there? This is such a beautiful school. I love it. I love your big old building. It's so cool to be here. And thank you so much for having me here this morning. Are you guys having a good time so far? Yeah? And do you guys have school next week? Yeah. Are you very sad you won't be able to come to school? Yeah. No. Okay. Well, let me tell you a brief story before I read my book to you, okay? It's a true story about me. 2.5 years ago, I went to an animal shelter one day to volunteer for just a couple of hours. Everyone know what an animal shelter is? Yes. If you don't, they take in animals, cats and dogs, even rabbits and hamsters and stuff, and they clean them up and they get them ready to be adopted out to little boys and girls just like you. Well, I went there one day for a couple of hours, and all the volunteers were asked to do 3 things. They either had to wash dishes, all the metal dishes that the dogs and cats eat out of. Oh, thank you. They could wash dishes, they could do laundry, cleaning up towels that they use, or they could clean up poop out of the cages. Now, I know. Well, I was fine doing any of those things, but the day I was there, they were moving a lot of things to the back of the building, and tables and chairs and things. And they said to me, you're a pretty big guy, can you lift tables and chairs? And I said, sure. And they said, would you mind being the one volunteer who helps us with that? I said, I don't mind. So all the volunteers did dishes and laundry, and they asked me to help move tables and chairs. This is important because all the dogs and cats at the shelter were in the front of the building where they were. I was taken to the back of the building where there were nothing but offices. I was in the back of the building, and again, it was just complete luck that I was back there moving some tables, and I looked in an office and I saw a cage, and I saw something white and furry moving in a circle. And I said to the lady, do you get to bring your dogs to work? She said, what do you mean? I said, I see a dog in a cage there. She said, oh, no, that's a very special dog. I said, why is he special? She said, we just brought him in. He was just found wandering around the middle of nowhere. He can't see and he can't hear. He's way underweight. He's been out, somebody just dumped him in the middle of nowhere, so he hasn't eaten in like probably days and days. He was thirsty, he needs the food. He needs a lot of help, but we're hopefully gonna get him healthy and then put him up for adoption. She said, do you want to meet him? I said, sure. I have dogs at home, so I like dogs. She opened the cage. There were about 6 people in the room at this time, all in different places. And the little white dog came out, and I could see his eyes were kind of closed, and he put his nose in the air, and he smelled the whole room. And then he walked directly over to me, and he put his head on my foot. And I thought, oh, what a sweetie. So I petted him. And she said, I think he likes you. I said, well, I think he smells my dogs. He probably smelled my dogs and figured if I have dogs, I must like dogs. So I petted him, and I did my work that day, and that was it. That was it for the dog. The next day, I was thinking about him, and I emailed and said, hey, let me know how it works out with that dog who needs to have some surgery and get a lot of food and get some weight on him. She said, sure, we'll let you know. And then about 2 weeks, 3 weeks went by, and I emailed again and said, hey, how's that dog doing? She said, oh, he's doing great. He looks a lot better than when you saw him, and he's doing really good. In about a month, we're going to adopt him out to a family. I said, oh, good for you. Well, anyway, goodbye. And then like a month went by, and I emailed again, and I said, hey, how's that dog doing? She said, oh, I think we have a family to adopt him. And I said, fantastic. I hope it works out great. Then another couple weeks went by, and I emailed it like a third or fourth time. I said, hey, how's that dog doing? Did it work out with the family? And she said, no, actually, they looked at him and they're nervous that he's blind and deaf and they can't take care of him and he still needs a home. I said, oh, that's too bad. She said, you know, you keep asking about this dog. Do you want to adopt him? Now, would you want to adopt him? Maybe. I said, I can't adopt him. And she said, why? I said, because I have 2 big German Shepherds at home. You know what a German Shepherd looks like, right? And she said, well, what's that have to do with anything? I said, well, he can't see and hear, and they're kind of young and crazy. They jump on each other, and I don't want to picking on him and being mean to him. And she said, you mean you have mean dogs? I said, no, they're not mean dogs. They're sweet dogs. But he's different than them, and what if they treat him differently, and they're not nice to him? What if they just, I don't want him. He's already blind and deaf, and he got dumped in the middle of nowhere. He doesn't need to go into a house where dogs are jumping on his head, right? And she said, well, why do you think your dogs would act that way? Why don't you bring him home and see how it goes? So I was very nervous. But my wife went and met him, and she loved him and said, we're adopting this dog. I said, well, let's see how it goes, sweetie. So we brought him home, and we ended up naming him Keller. And my dogs, I was completely wrong about my dogs. They looked at him and could tell he was different, but they didn't care. They liked the fact he was different. They were not mean to him or teasing him. They were nice to him. In fact, they helped him a lot where he needed help with certain things. If they were playing with a toy and he wasn't playing, they'd bring a toy and put it in his mouth and say, come play with us. And that's the way my dogs were with Keller. It was really amazing to watch. So we kept Keller, and after about a year, I'd already written 1 book. Every time I write a story, he's always sitting at my computer just like this. He lays on my left side, and he puts his head or his foot on my foot, because he likes to know where you are. That's one of the things he does. And one day, after you lived with us for about a year, I said, you know, I should write a story about you, because you're such a cool dog. And I called it Keller's Heart. Can I read it to you real quick? Yeah! Okay. It doesn't take too long. First thing you do when you write a book, if one of you becomes an author someday, you have to dedicate it to somebody. I actually dedicated this book to you. It says, for any child who's ever felt different, alone, or faced special challenges, you are unique, you are beautiful, you are loved. And I can tell just walking into school, looking at your teachers, and maybe we have some parents here as well, that you are definitely loved. You're so lucky to go to this school. Here's a story. This is a love story, but not the kind with castles, dragons, and a princess trapped in a tower. It does, however, have a special girl and a fluffy knight who rescue each other. Sorry, it's hard to turn the page in 1 minute. The little girl's name was Raven. She had a lot to say for someone who never spoke. She was as quiet as a butterfly dancing on a cloud. You see, Raven was deaf. She talked with her hands, her smile, and her hugs. She gave the best hugs. Raven was excited because it was almost her birthday. Remember that, okay? On the other side of town was Raven's best friend, who she hadn't even met yet. A puppy without a name or home or child to love. This puppy was different. He couldn't see or hear, but his nose was extra sensitive and his heart as big as the sky. See his heart up there? See it in the clouds? Okay, let's meet the dog. Sometimes when things appear broken, people throw them away or think they aren't as good. But that's not true. Sometimes different is better. Yet when this puppy's owner saw that the puppy's eyes and ears didn't work, he left him on the side of the road near the train tracks and drove off. The owner didn't realize it then, but he'd just thrown away the most precious thing a person could ever have, a friend. The puppy's hair grew long and he got very dirty wandering the streets. Then one day a nice lady found him and took him to the animal shelter. He needed a name, a home, and especially a bath. Let's go back to Raven. Even though Raven was deaf, she did all the things the other children did at school, only she had an aide to help her communicate with her classmates. Raven taught them simple sign language, how to say hello, how are you? And she got lonely sometimes, being the only one like her at school. Plus, some of the kids treated her differently, as if she would break if they played with her. She was deaf, she was not made of glass. Raven just wanted to fit in. If only we could get these two together, right? One day, her class took a field trip to the animal shelter. They had a tour and saw furry creatures big and small. As everyone crowded around that box of kittens, you see, Raven's eyes were drawn to the back room at the sight of water splashing. What do you think's happening? Let's find out what's going on. There's water splashing. Here it comes, yep. She walked over and saw they were washing the puppy that was found by the train tracks. Soon the other children joined her, but they couldn't see what Raven could see. The puppy didn't have his eyes closed because of the soap. They were closed because he was blind. She noticed something else too. On the puppy's left side was a big dark spot. They scrubbed it, but it didn't come clean. Remember that for later, okay? When the bath was done, they dried him off, and the puppy raised his nose in the air. He could tell there were lots of people in the room now. He was sniffing them all without moving a single step. Then he lowered his nose, and all the children in the room, he walked directly over to Raven and rested his head on her foot. Does that sound familiar? Like what happened with me. He likes you, the worker said. You want to give him a drink? He can't see in the ears, so you have to help him. Raven took the bowl of water and got on the floor with the puppy, but rather than give him a drink immediately, she took his left paw and tapped it twice in her hand. Then she gave him a sip. She did this a second, third time, and soon the dog wagged his tail, anticipating what would come next. "What's she doing?" her classmate asked. The teacher smiled and said, "Teaching him doggy sign language." So she started teaching him. Remember I said it was almost Raven's birthday? What do you think she wanted for her birthday? A dog. When Raven went home, she told her parents what she wanted for her birthday, and the next day, the puppy without a name was hers. Raven had recently read a book about an amazing woman named Keller, who was deaf and blind, so she called her puppy Keller. Soon she was taking him, I skipped a page. Over the next few months, Raven taught Keller more sign language, and with her mom's permission, she took him to the children's hospital to visit. Raven thought that if the sick kids saw how well she and her puppy were doing, this would inspire them and show them it's okay to be different. Soon she was taking him to nursing homes and other hospitals for more smiles. For a dog trapped in darkness, Keller was full of light. He looks much happier, doesn't he? The story's almost over. On the last day of school, Raven's teacher let her bring Keller to class for show and tell. But she wasn't alone. "Is this your mom?" they asked. "No," she signed. "It's a groomer. Watch this." A groomer gives haircuts to dogs and cats. Raven smiled at what was about to happen. The woman took out the scissors and started trimming back Keller's fur, especially that dark spot in his left side. Remember the one they couldn't clean? Soon they saw that hidden underneath the tangled mess in his fur was a perfectly shaded heart. Raven showed them not to judge people by what they see. It's what's underneath and inside that counts. She then signed to the class, "This is Keller. I am his eyes, and he is my heart." The quietest girl at school revealed the most important lesson of all. It was right there in Keller's heart. You like that story? There's a surprise in the back of the book. We have a couple more pictures of Keller, and then one more. That's the real Keller. He's a real dog who lives with me. I live in North Greenbush, which is only about 25 minutes from here. It's on the other side of Albany. And I left him a half hour ago just to come and see you. And I always give him a big hug when I'm going to come meet students. I tell him I'm going to go tell his story again today. Keller can't be here today, but he wanted me to read this message to you. This is from Keller. He says, "Hi, my name is Keller, the real Keller who inspired the story. I'm so glad you came by to visit with me. Just like the puppy in the book, I was born unable to see and hear, and someone left me on the side of the road. Then something amazing happened. A nice family adopted me from the shelter, and I went to live with them. Now I get hugs and kisses every day," that he does, "and I have other puppies to play with. I really do have a big heart in my fur. I even have one in my paw. I love the snow and playing in the leaves too, and even though I'm different than the other dogs, I've learned to never give up. Don't you ever give up either. Remember, you're special just the way you are. Bye, Keller." And that's Keller's little message to you.